Today is Thursday, so we talk about success for Scrum Masters. We've been sharing success stories here on the podcast since 2015, so there's a lot to learn. But wouldn't you like to learn from people with decades of experience? Well, don't worry, we've got you covered. The Scrum Master Toolbox podcast launched Tips from the Trenches, the Scrum Master edition audiobook. That's version 2 now out. There are 13 audio interviews, 3 hours of audio with Scrum Masters that have decades of experience. We've got Mike Cohn, Linda Rising, Lisa Crispin, Christopher Avery, Emily Weber, myself, your podcast host, Yves Hanul, the editor of the original Tips from the Trenches ebook, also available with the audiobook. Altogether, 13 super experienced Scrum Masters. To learn more, visit bit.ly/audiotips2. That's bit.ly/AUDIOTIPS and the numeral 2 at the end, all lowercase, all one word. So one more time, that's bit.ly/audiotips2 to learn more. And now, on to today's show. Hello everybody, welcome to our Success Thursday this week with Simon Flossmann. Hi Simon, welcome back.
Hi Vasco.
So Simon, on Thursdays we start, as usual, by asking you, what's your favorite retrospective format and why?
Oh, maybe I'm the wrong person to ask this kind of questions because usually I do not use some fancy formats or techniques, but let me try to share something. So for me, the main challenge is as a Scrum Master is on the one side, I need to create transparency so that we could enable empiricism. And on the other side, I need to enable self-organization. So how do I balance these two components in the retrospective? And usually I do it very, let's say, not with fancy formats or techniques. I start just by explaining the purpose of the sprint retrospective at the beginning. And I do this over and over. Maybe later on I ask the team to tell me the purpose, but that's the first thing. I think it's important that they understand the purpose really clear. And then I ask them about the goal. And to me, a successful sprint retrospective always yields some actionable improvement item which can be enacted in the next sprint. And in order to let them self-organize, we specify the time box. Usually for 2 weeks sprint, it's 1.5 hours, I think. And basically that's everything. So I explain the clear purpose, I work with them on the clear goal, and then I give them the constraints of the time box. And to be honest, I'm really brutal honest and say, what you do inside this time box, I don't care. If by the end, if you have an actionable improvement item, which everybody agreed on, then I'm totally fine. And here I tried really heavily use the self-organizing capabilities of the team. And I offer them some help if they need. So if they say, Simon, can you make some format with us so that we achieve the goals? But oftentimes it's not the case. Sometimes I'm asking, so how you want to achieve the goal? So let's create an agenda, how we can do it. Or I ask, shall I do something to help you? And I think I was quite successful with this very simple format. Even one of the teams agreed to go to the beer garden. And that's fine for me if they come up with an improvement item for the next sprint. And I think the advantage of this approach is I can participate as a regular team member and also can share my views. So I a little bit leaving the coaching stance here.
That's actually a good point, because at some point the Scrum Master may feel that they want to participate, and if you use a more formal format, you can't step out of the facilitation role, otherwise the format breaks down. But if you use a kind of almost like a free form format, then it's perfectly fine.
Yes. And it's interesting, if you have a little bit more mature team, they come up with crazy ideas to run sprint retrospectives. So I never thought of these types of techniques or formats. So it's really the way to go for me.
Absolutely. For me, the key takeaway from what you just shared is that the constraints and the goal needs to be very clear. And then you can allow the team to find a way to reach that goal, which is in this case, actionable improvement item. And the constraints being that we want to change something to improve, and we want to have that done in the particular time box we agreed.
Yes. I had also experienced that sometimes it took only 20 minutes and that was fine for everyone. And then they went home. But that's totally okay with me.
Absolutely. That's also another aspect that I think is not talked about enough in the Agile communities, that retrospectives don't need to be long as they are properly facilitated, or in this case, properly set up, and they deliver what they need to deliver. They can be a 5-minute conversation or a 50-minute conversation. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, next we turn our attention to success, what success is for Scrum Masters. And you said right off the bat at the start of Monday that you don't believe that not being needed as a Scrum Master is a good definition of success. So now I'm really interested in listening to your answer. So Simon, what does being a successful Scrum Master mean for you?
Yeah, that's such an important question. As I told on Monday, I think it's important for us as Scrum Masters to know how success looks like and how to measure it or communicate it or prove it. Let me start by recalling the Scrum framework provides minimal boundaries to enable empiricism. And as a Scrum Master, we are responsible for helping teams embrace empiricism to solve complex problems while delivering valuable products and services. And the key point I want to emphasize here is that the product should be of value to the customer. And to me, first and foremost, the success of a Scrum Master is how he is serving the team, that the team is successfully delivering products of highest value to their customers. Overall, I would say a Scrum Master does a good job if the product he is working on provides value to the customer and they are happy. And so how to measure this? It's a little bit tricky, but I have started or doing in the sprint retrospective, for instance, ask the stakeholders how valuable the product is to them, or ask the customer how happy they are on a scale from 1 to 5. And it's always important. It's not about the numbers itself. It's about the trend of the numbers that they indicate. For me, it's the most important factor in success of a Scrum Master is how successful is the product delivery or the product.
I really like that definition. And I like it for a couple of reasons. I want to first say that the role of the Scrum Master has to start, and perhaps even the Scrum Guide should incorporate that explicitly. We have to start focusing on the benefit we bring to the most important actors in the Scrum framework, which, by the way, are not the team. They are the stakeholders and the customers.
That's so true.
The team is there to provide value to stakeholders and to provide value to customers. Scrum is the tool we use, and with that we have a set of, perspectives, values, right? Collaboration, focus, courage, blah, 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 blah. All of those great things we talk about and hear about all the time. But at the end of the day, a great team that provides a product that nobody uses can't be called a great team either.
That's so true. But maybe I want to dig a little bit deeper in the Scrum Master role itself, because now we are talking about the team. But how can you improve, or how can you measure your success? And to me, I would say the Scrum Master role comes down to 3 important aspects. So first and foremost, it is enable empiricism. And the second one is embody the Scrum values and to build trust. That's very important. And last but not least, we should heavily rely on self-organization. And I think we serve the team best if we trust on empiricism. That's the main point. And how do I try to measure this? To me, a good test is what happens if the Scrum Master is on vacation or not available. So did the team had the Scrum events? What is the retrospective improvement? Did they implement it? Did they meet the sprint goal and such things? And if you, in hindsight, pay attention to these factors, then maybe you can figure out if you do a good job in enable empiricism and enable self-organization.
So I would take that and add one little thing that you've already mentioned. So I just want to emphasize that this enable empiricism as much as possible in the context of helping the team focus on the product success. What do you think about that?
Beautifully put. That's really the key.
Simon, thank you very much for sharing that insightful and also challenging definition of success.
You're welcome.
Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.